Hi, this is Rick Sorley from New Home Sales Coach, and we're going to take a look right now at psychographic profiles. And so when you're defining your buyer, you have to not only look at the demographics, i.e. age, where they work, if they're in a minority group, children, income levels, that sort of thing, but you've also got to look at their psychographics. And let me define exactly what that is. Psychographics comes from a term that was developed by the Stanford Research Group back in the early 1970s. What it did is it classified consumers into groups with shared psychographical profiles, and it was used by major marketers of everything from beer to automobiles. And what it did is they figured out that self-images affect product selection. So let me explain. Consumers, you and I, we tend to select products or product brands that validate our assumed or believed self-images. So in other words, if we believe drinking a certain type of beer or driving a certain type of car or truck will validate our assumed self-image, then we buy it. And so this can also include homes and obviously the remodeling project you choose or the type of remodeler or home builder that you choose. So self-images are based on measurable beliefs, opinions, attitudes, values, and dreams. So of course, when you're looking at trying to define a category for yourself and how you're going to differentiate your offerings and build value through that, psychographics plays a huge role. Now, what happened was in the 1980s, VALS 2 was intended to simplify the original VALS study, so it got updated. And what they did is now they divided consumers into 8 groups, and the groups are roughly equal size. Now, the 8 groups are broken into 4 self-orientations. So imagine this, you got 8 groups and then you've got 4 self-orientations. There are 2 groups in each self-orientation, so 4 times 2 equals 8. Each self-orientation has one group that's got money. They got ample resources, and they have one group with moderate resources. Now, as it relates to new homes, and of course, as it relates to remodeling, it turns out that 2 of the 4 groups make up the bulk of buyers, and they are the principle-oriented and the status-oriented groups. Now let's look at the principle oriented. The principle oriented are defined and guided by doing the right thing and making responsible choices. I describe this group as the family values group. So the 2 groups that are within this self-orientation, the moderate resources, are called the believers. They're very conservative, they're stable, they buy American whenever possible, and their lives are centered around family, community, church, and country. A lot of times these are oftentimes our trade partners or our suppliers, the people that work on site. They fall into the believer group. Now the second group, of course, this group has the money. These are called the thinkers. They're very mature, they're responsible, they're well educated, they are practical, and they're also value oriented. Now their lives are primarily focused around family, work, and community, just like the believer group. However, their concerns extend to world events, new ideas, and social change. Oftentimes you'll find this thinker group centered around, say, universities or in core urban areas of maybe where you're building. The status-oriented group are guided by admiration and respect. They're very work-oriented and they continually strive for success. Again, we've got the 2 types of groups. The strivers, which have the moderate resources, they can be described as probably the up-and-comers. They're style conscious. They're trying to buy their way to admiration and respect. These are the people that will lease a Mercedes-Benz. They don't have the money to do it, but they'll look at that they're trying to buy their way to the admiration and respect. They're very hard workers and they're work-oriented and they are taking the path upward to success. Then we have the achievers. The achiever group has the ample resources within the status-oriented self-orientation. They are top of the line consumers. They want quality. They want social prestige, and they will get it through their purchases. They're interested in things like your friends will be envious. Those are emotional statements that really appeal to them. They're conservative, they're successful, and they are very respectful of authority and the status quo.